All right. According to this thing here, we are live. And you know what? I don't even know what night it is. So welcome to episode 5. I have no idea. And we're going to go real quick over here to our intro song, which I have no idea what that is. Here it goes!
Yeah!
Oh yeah! Live!
Yeah. Monday night, well, I'm not going to give it away, but we'll go with this.
I just did, but I did something.
Uh-oh.
Alright. So tonight, we have... I'm a pirate!
You sound far away! Like a pirate on this open seas.
Arr! Also, we have... You ready for it?
What happened?
You ready for it?
Randy Felton. I'm ready. You time out. Ooh.
Let me continue. The gluttony continues. Right here live. Also, we're going to be looking at ghost videos, and the first segment of every show live here is What Are You Doing? So, Mr. Michael Rosa joining us for the third night in a row. Mr. Michael Rosa, how you doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing just fine. Soon to be the new co-host of this Random Rick Hour.
Wow.
Yes. No, you sound like you got something in your nose, buddy. You okay?
I do. It's a microphone.
I can stop putting little cotton swabs in the bathroom. I mean, you used up the bag last time, and when I got caught, I couldn't wash up. But of cotton swabs there.
Hello. All right.
Well, we've got a great show tonight, folks. I hope you're enjoying the tuning so far.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, it's me and Rick, just keeping the night alive. Trying to survive after 5.
We're having so much fun. All right, so let's start out. What are you doing? Let's stop this music. Hold on. I kind of like it in the background, but it's gonna drown
It's
you
nice
out.
for the info, man.
You know,
Nice for the
it is
Yep.
nice. No, you gotta have a little something, and I like that song. So, hold on. Oh, I don't want to do the wrong thing here, folks. Hey.
You sound like you're pinging again.
I know it's probably on your end, but hold on a second here, folks.
Yeah, I can't understand what you're saying.
Just hold on. We're gonna stop the music. Hey, there we go. All right.
You're breaking up, you know what I mean?
That could be on your end. Everything's looking good on my end. So.
Are you singing a song? What song is that? It's a trap song, I know it is.
I'm not even singing a song.
Nah, trap's a lot slower, I think. You're gonna happy hardcore here.
Yeah. All right.
When life gives
So-
you lemons,
What? What do you do?
you make dollar bills appear inside of them. So,
All right.
I really can't hear what the hell you're saying.
All right. Well, it must be something on your end because my levels are coming through pretty good over here. So.
Is this the same microphone you were using last night? I mean,
Yep, same one I got every night. Everything's coming in great over here on this end.
dude, this is bad. I can't understand anything you're saying.
Oh, that's terrible. You're gonna have to hang up, and then we'll call you back. Maybe we'll have to reestablish.
Just
the
figure this
connection.
out.
All right, we'll call you
I
right
got some
back.
nice spicy nacho Doritos, folks. Got a picture of Wonder Woman on the front. She's wielding what looks like a whip. I think it's part of her character. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really a Marvel guy or a DC guy. hardcore comics guy, other than Calvin and Hobbes, and Bloom Country, Outland, great. But yeah, I've got some Doritos here,
Very
and
nice.
I'm gonna eat them. Rick is over there messing around with his robot voice. We're going to be talking about quite a few things tonight. I'm not going to give away any of them. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait for him to catch up, folks.
Yeah, okay. Oh, all right. Well, little does he know that I'm coming in pretty good on this side, and he's coming in good, and I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna hang up on there, and we'll call you back because that's the only solution I can think of at the second moment.
There we go.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
I can hear you now. Maybe it's on my end. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when you couldn't hear me, is that it's on your end because all my levels are good over here. So we're on a nice clean stream tonight, folks. Nice clean stream.
I'll give you a nice clean stream. Hold on, let me drink a 6-pack and I'll give you a nice clean stream.
So you said you were talking about your Doritos. Oh no, what is it? There's Wonder Woman on the front of the bag.
Yeah, it's Wonder Woman on the front of the bag. Apparently she likes Doritos too. I mean, I don't remember that from any of the movies or the comics, but I mean, the companies are saying that's true. So I'm inclined to believe now that the creators are either on their way out or they're dead. So
all right, now
somebody got to call the shot.
Is it the comic book Wonder Woman?
Yes.
All right.
No, it's the movie, whatever. I mean, obviously the promoting.
All right.
Promoting,
All right. So, how cute is she, huh?
Who?
Wonder Woman?
I would. Twice on Sundays.
No, you gotta go to church.
Here right yet.
You gotta go to church on Sunday. I need more chocolate in my iced coffee. So.
Is that time of month?
Yeah. Will you do you want to keep people entertained while I play a video in the background for a few minutes here while I go put some chocolate sauce in this thing?
Speaking of that time of the month, you see people taking maxi pads and using these things as using them as masks. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Take a maxi pad, put it across their face. What? I mean, when that time of the month comes around, there's no maxi pads to be had. Are they using masks? What's going on? What's going on there? How's that work? It's a bad joke.
The guys are wearing, yeah, that's very bad. All right, so what was I gonna do? I wanted to play a ghost video. This is only.
Okay. You remember what we're doing tonight, right? You remember our topic this evening? You haven't even talked about it yet?
Not yet. We're just hanging out every night. Live, April, every night, 8 p.m. Eastern, folks. Alright, let me see how long this video is. I don't know, spookiest ghost caught on camera. 2020.
Let me see if I can refresh this.
I don't know how long it is, but give it a few minutes. I'm gonna play this in the background so you can watch it. Let me see if I can switch the camera. Hey, there we go. Alright. So
I don't have a camera though.
What's that?
I don't have a camera. Hold on.
You don't have a camera?
I don't see you.
Well, you have a delay, so.
Well, I also don't see anything on a screen. I just see the I'm a pirate thing here.
Oh, you know what? It probably started on a different link. With my luck, because of the thing that the way I do it, I mess it all up. So
I'll find it. God damn it! You know what? I sent all these links out to people. You make this impossible. There we go.
All right, well, send them all out to the right one. So
I don't know how to get this link.
It's my life. It's the story of my life.
Okay, I figured it out. We're good.
I have to put in here that we're live on another link, but I can't. All right, I have to go take care of this. I'm gonna let the video play. Give it a few seconds to catch up, and then or you don't even have to say anything. You can just go take a break for a minute. Just give it a second. All right, I'll be right back.
Yep, I'm looking through the links. Yep, I'm freaking fine. Oh my God, you weren't kidding. There's quite the link, the delay here.
Unless I gotta take those.
And
Let me get this to work here. Let's see here.
yep. Oh, it's a ghost video.
Is that like hazy to y'all?
It's a ghost video. Ghost video. Where? That's it.
Alright, that'll work. I'll turn this light off. We'll try to do EVP session. Hold on, I gotta get my
Still. Oh, fuck. Crying out loud. Still sending links.
speaker.
Still sending links. Anybody else in here with me? Just me? Okay. Sounds good. 20 minutes into the show. Missing our friend Malice. Unless for whatever reason you're already in the chat and I don't see you. You know.
Necrophonics.
So we're gonna check this out here.
But I want to do it on Bluetooth.
LP.
It sounds louder. And I'm hard of hearing, so. Alright, that should be good enough.
All right.
Crap.
Work
one
is
bar.
done.
Change
Right
my
work
battery
anyway.
already.
And
Go ahead and do that.
we're gonna go back to the live chat where it's just me and Jay. I gotta have a fiddle. I'll be back.
Drop the light. Put on the speaker. Oh, we need to see for that. Can you walk in front of my camera? Let me get this thing on.
Powering on. Ready to pair. Paired.
Already getting voices and stuff in here. I said it's paired, so. All right, let me try this. Can you walk in front of my camera? Oh, I got scared. All right.
All right, we're back, folks. Still just me in the chat room. Enjoy. Oh, I'm enjoying watching this ghost video.
I'm back, yeah.
Hey, yeah, we did the whole show without you. I am so sorry.
All right, everyone, thanks for coming. Have a
All
good
right,
night. We'll
folks,
see you tomorrow
listen.
night, episode 6. Thank you.
We're collected now. We're collected. Oh, hi, Pamela. This is your good man Quincy here, and my friend Rick. This is Random Rick's show, and we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different interesting subjects this evening. One which I cannot divulge yet because I got to give Rick the honors with that. But thank you for tuning in. I mean, all you got to do is sit there and, you know, hold your head and listen. Really, I guess
Yeah.
those times are acceptable. You know. So, you know, at the moment here, what have you got on the screen?
Oh, we're playing a ghost video of this gentleman who went on a hunt, and he recorded an hour of it. And there's a whole. I watched about 30 minutes of it. And there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of activity that he's catching on the thing here, and not even realize like voices, and he's not even So like there's like that much going on, and he's by himself. So he was.
Yeah, nothing to say about analysis in the end here. I mean, good lord, a hack
Oh,
show is this.
no, yeah, he
Oh,
went in and he was getting things like left and right, noises, bangs, like distinct voices you can just hear on like in the background. You know what I mean? It was
Mm.
crazy. So.
I don't know, Pam. I'll be honest with you. If you're looking to get possessed, I know a guy. All right, he's a little expensive, but he'll get the job done. Just give me a ring. You know the number. You know what I mean? That's it. Or you can, once we get the caller lines up here, you can give a ring in here. But we have yet to do that. So I'm
No,
sorry.
yeah,
We're in the middle of the text that we're working with.
right.
Yeah, I know a guy. Just saying.
No, yeah, he knows a guy. You know what I mean?
Good guy. He's
Forget
a real
about
good
it.
guy.
He knows a
Actually.
guy.
Nice
Hey,
guy. Does a lot of charity work. Does stuff for free for some people.
This brings me to with the accent thing, that brings me to my first thing I wanted to talk about tonight.
What do you got?
And that I am officially a pirate. Yep.
Okay. You keep coming back to this. What are
I
you talking
am
about?
declaring myself a pirate.
Let me see your ship. Give me a
No,
picture
it
of your
has
ship.
nothing to do with that.
You can't be a pirate without a ship, dude. Come on.
I am a pirate, and do you want to know why?
Okay, why?
Alright. In Boston,
Mhm.
you can't pronounce your R's. And when you do, you sound like a pirate. And I've sat there and tried to do it a million times, and every time I try to pronounce my ah, I sound like a pirate. I can't do it with a straight face. I start to laugh.
Here's the funny thing about this too. All right. In Massachusetts, yes, you lose your R's. You can say, people make all sorts of different comments. Park the car and have it, yeah, whatever, is popular in terms of the saying. But then they take those R's and then put them on the ends of words that they don't naturally exist in. For example, pizza. Let's go get some pizza. Hey, have you talked to, I got a segment on my show. It's called Ask Yoder. Ask Yoder. Like, what the hell kind of strange accent is this that you're cycling?
No, listen.
Captain.
I was sitting there the other day, and I'm like, I can't pronounce my R's. And I try to do it, and every time I do it, I sound like a pirate. So there's no way that I'm going to be doing it. So let me try to do it now. You ready? Here we go.
I'd love to have a conversation with your bathroom mirror. But anyway, go on.
All right, here we go. Arr. It comes out like a pirate. There's no way around it. I'm like being totally serious. I'm not even joking. All right, totally serious. Here we go again. Number 2. Here we go. R. That's like a pirate, like questioning the captain, like R.
Say grocery store. Say grocery store.
No, God, no.
Come on, you gotta make it applicable.
That's like a tongue twister for me. Oh, but yeah,
it's at the end.
Anybody who does it, if you're in Boston and you live here and you were born here and you want to try it at home, try it now. I guarantee that you sound like a pirate.
Put a helmet on first, maybe a football helmet if you got one laying around.
Right. Yeah. So try it at home. And if you do sound like a pirate, please send it in to me on my Facebook. Everybody knows it. Pamela might not know it, but you can't do it? Pamela.
No, I don't know what that is. Is that a baby seat? That's a good question. What is that?
I think he has a baby seat out in the middle of this little church.
Yeah, I think you're right. It might be a high chair, Pam. You're right.
Let's see if he goes to another part of the house here.
But
he's got a lot of activity.
Videos, what's that?
He got a lot of activity at this place.
The thing about these videos, you have one planted camera. You know what I mean? I wish that they would just kind of literally shoot the room if they could do it. If they're going to go and investigate a place, you want to have multiple cameras, angles, and setups, you know what I mean, so that anything can be captured, can be validated by another recording source. I don't...
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I don't get it.
This guy's just out by himself doing it. It was just something I found real quick on Reddit, but I just had it playing in the background while
I don't know, but if you see a baby, Pam, let us know. Let us know. We'll look for the parents.
Yeah,
I'm just
please.
saying, it's probably lost. It's wandering around in this video, more than likely lost. But,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. We could name it. I'm just saying, don't get emotionally attached to it, though. Because it's going to disappear. Just the nature of what it is.
Yep.
Oh,
Pamela, where are you joining us from? If you
don't
want.
say your couch, because that's really cliche, okay? We know you're sitting on your couch right now, thank you. Scaring the... He's ripping a butt, scaring the ghosts. All right, who else we got in here tonight? Who else is in the chat?
Yeah, anybody else
Anything else?
joining us?
I see a few people in here. What do we have? I mean, the ears are nice too. Don't worry about it. Franklin.
Yeah.
Franklin Mass.
Franklin. Oh yeah, Pamela's from Franklin. Oh hey, all right, cool.
Good old Franklin.
She can't
know
pronounce
nothing
her
about
R's. If she's from down there, forget about
No,
it.
she can't pronounce the R's at all. No way.
That's a whole other world down there.
Doesn't even know what an R is, dude. I'm telling you.
They've got like the rolling R. They're like, oh. It's like a, I don't know even how to describe it.
Yeah, they slurred. You look a little scared. What you looking to me, Pam? Watching this video of a road, possibly going into Chernobyl or Centralia. Not certain.
What we're watching now is Delaware's top 10 urban legends.
You will hear hooves on the
Fantastic.
road.
We're going to talk about what we're going to really get to on the meat of tonight's program.
Coming out of the
It's really not a program. It's
and
just
if you
hanging
dare
out.
say it a third time,
What is tonight?
Every night in
Maggie
April,
will
8
emerge
o'clock.
from the
I don't even
woods,
know.
Yeah,
head
what's tonight
in her
though?
hand,
Come on, we talked
wanting
about
you
this.
to
What is it?
reconnect it to bring her back to life. So
Do I
she
have
may
to say
find
it?
her baby.
There's no-
Ellendale
I
Forest,
just have
Sussex
ghost
County,
videos.
Mandala
Delaware.
Monday. It's
Highway
Mandala Monday,
113
folks.
runs through
Come on,
Ellendale
step up and
Forest.
talk about the
Along
Berenstain
the
Bears.
stretch
Come
of
on.
road, there have been many reports of a headless figure seen.
Well, Pam, this is why we do the show. And as you can see, it's really off the cuff for what we're doing. We're having fun with it. And that's, a lot of this is testing phase still for us in this respect. We both have different shows that we do. And I'm a guest on his tonight. So.
Yeah. He's my guest, so stop talking so much.
Oh, God, he's kidding. Please, you're the only one talking in the chat room.
Oh,
Please
my
continue.
goodness. Yeah, I can't. Honestly, my ears are going to fall.
Walking along the
let's
highway,
listen to
causing
this
a
for a
high
minute.
rate of
Watching
accidents from seeing this creepy
Delaware.
looking
Wait,
figure.
hold on now. You know what I want to know?
Get rid of that
Do
banner
you
at the bottom
have,
of the video.
what do you call it? Out in Connecticut, when you were growing up, did you have the nun, like the road where the nuns hung themselves? You know?
We had a couple different urban legends in places that were talked about. One of the biggest was Dudleytown in Cornwall, Connecticut. This particular town was apparently an abandoned establishment many, many, many years ago. I think it was 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. But Dudley was founded by the family Dudley. Of course, as many towns back then were, using the last surname as the town name, and it grew to some degree. And I believe the head of the town, he was a Dudley, and he was the father or the grandfather or something like that, had been called off across the ocean to attend something. I can't recall exactly. It's been a while since I delved into this legend. And in his absence, his wife, kids, and the rest of the town, something happened while he was away. When he returned, some of the people were mad. They lost their minds, just kind of walking around babbling. Whatever sort of small economy that they had within the town had collapsed. There was no trade coming in and out. There were no visitors coming in and out, and people were either isolated or had disappeared completely. Now, maybe they moved away, but the fact that, the incoherence amongst the people that were still left, it leaves much speculation. But this place is really cool, and unfortunately, the particular area is very protected. It is private land at this point and has been for quite some time. I do have a friend that was able to visit up there, and he went up there with a few of his friends when he was a teenager, as you know most of these guys do. They weren't even out to party; they were literally going there just to check things out. And when they got up there, they were wandering around for a bit, and they saw some lights off in the distance. All of a sudden, a truck pulls up, and a woman with a shotgun gets out and says, "Y'all better leave."
Oh, jeez.
So they didn't stick around for too long. They got back in their car and they left. But that place is purportedly incredibly haunted, but not of the nicest ilk. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. Dudley Road. I was gonna say that we have a Dudley Road here. I think every town has the Dudley Road. What do they call it? Legend?
Yeah,
Urban
legends
legend.
and
Urban
stuff.
legend. Right. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I think every town has it. We had one here, and supposedly the nuns hung themselves on it. And if you go up there at night, you can see them or something at midnight. And we used to go up there, and then there was a barn with somebody. They said they used to bring people in there and kill them, so we tried to break into that. Oh, God.
You know, I mean, a lot of this can be hearsay, but because, you know, there was a certain lawlessness sense about, you know, history, at least within the last 100 years, you couldn't really keep tabs on people. A lot of this might have something, you know, at its core in terms of truth. There might have been a strange murder or, you know, something that was unsolved in the area, and then these stories grew around it. In terms of an establishment the size of Dudley, I mean, obviously there's a lot more there. There's many more people involved. Should, you know, obviously cover more of a vast ground in terms of theory and legend. But, you know, you have lots of different stuff. Connecticut's, you know, rife with these things. I remember, now I'm going to tell you this really quickly, not to get too deep into the ghost stories, but my mother, when I was growing up, she used to tell me that she would camp out in Gay City State Park, which is a big forest out in Connecticut, central Connecticut. Very beautiful place, wonderful, wonderful place to go hiking and so forth. And you can camp there. But when she was younger, she grew up in Hebron, which was a nearby town. And she told me this story that she went out with a guy that she was dating. They went out and they went camping, had their fire and cooked their food, whatever, and they went to, you know, go and lay down shortly after. Just before they did, she looked off into the woods and she could hear some sorts of noises, rustling, whistling that was happening. And as she was hearing this, she started noticing there were little lights floating in between the trees. Now, this is interesting because when she told me this was the mid-'90s, and in my research afterwards, I found that one of the phenomenons that happens there that people witness are these little glowing orbs. They kind of float amongst the foliage and trees. And I thought that was very interesting because my mother had no connection, you know, in terms of putting this information out there. She never looked into the ghost stuff or anything like that. This was her experience. So fast forward many years later, I think it was just out of college, and I was dating this girl, and she was intuitive, as I am, and we decided to go down to Gay City, and there's these old abandoned mills that are down there that are very decrepit, but they're still standing to whatever degree, and there are dwellings, you know, the inside of, you know, what was in the earth, usually the cellars that are still there that had previous establishments that was, you know, erected. Yeah. And so we go in there, we start exploring, and we started noticing these odd smells. It smelled like something decaying, something had died, and we started looking around and couldn't find the source of it, but it was strong. I was like, wow, that's weird, you know, whatever. So we continue on, and we walk up into this one dwelling, and we get into the basement area, and we're just kind of like walking around this, you know, enclosure, of course. And she starts telling me, I don't feel good. I said, okay, well, we can walk out of here, keep moving on. She's like, no, I think we have to leave right now. I'm like, well, why? She's like, I sense something not good. I said, okay. And as we start walking out, she grabs the back of her neck and goes, something pinched me. And, you know, there was no physical mark that I could see, but it scared the living hell out of her, you know, to the point where she bolted out of the area. I wasn't too far behind because I didn't know what was going on, but she never went back to that place again. That was close to my house.
I don't blame her. You know what I mean?
Well, the intuitives feel more than, you know, perhaps somebody who isn't as sensitive, and as a result get more of a consequence in terms of contact, negative or positive.
Yeah. That's
You
like,
know.
because you definitely feel and see all that stuff more than I do when we were out doing that investigation long ago.
That's
You,
okay.
you and Chris would
I need
see him.
someone to drive to the investigations. You know.
How do you know those little orbs aren't the just fireflies or something out there?
They were big. She told me they were sizable. It wasn't like little small pockmarks of light like we saw or like I had seen in the Rutland prison camp. Which even then I could tell those were ethereal, but I could only compare it to what fireflies might look like. But these are bigger orbs.
Huh. All right. Yeah. I want to see something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll stand in the middle of Bay City State Park at whatever hour of night, and maybe you will.
All right.
I'll
Let's
give you
set it up.
directions down there.
Set it up.
I'll give you a pager, so if something happens, you can text me 911. I'll be there in like 2.5 hours.
I don't know if we're watching a ghost hunt on this video or an episode of Hoarders. Oh God! No wonder the place is haunted. So,
Oh, my goodness.
oh,
If anybody has any ghost experiences that or paranormal experiences that they've had, go ahead. Feel free to just chime in the chat. We'd love to discuss it with you.
yeah. Share it. You can share a story. We'll read it right here on the air for those that aren't following along in the chat. And yeah, but I wanted to mention real quick that I found Mr. Cheap Chips was out today. Mr. Cheap Chips was out and about on the town, scouring the stores and fighting the lines and all that to bring you some cheap chips. And I found a gem today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I won't be revealing it tonight because there's no way I can eat chips right now. I had chili, a big bowl of chili for dinner, and I just can't do it. I have to save what room I have.
Give it 10 minutes, you'll tell me that you're hungry. Don't worry
I
about
have
it.
to save what room I have for my peanut butter cookies that I made. Oh my god.
Oh, for God's sake, you ate cookies last night.
Oh, I'm eating them. I ate them last night. I ate them today. I'm eating them tonight.
Mr. Cheap Chip doesn't care about cookies, and you know this. He's got his cape. Let's go.
Mr. Cheap Chips will be out this week with a gem. That's all I'm gonna say on that subject. Yeah,
Wonder Woman after you.
That's fine. She can come get me. That's fine. I wore a face mask out today for the first time.
I saw the picture. You looked incredibly goofy.
Yeah. But to be honest with you, what?
I'll be honest with you, Pam. I've seen your bedroom through the window when I was holding bottles of wine out there by the brush, and you've never seen my bedroom. So you know what? Have a seat. Sit down for a spell. Take a pew for a spell.
Creepy Quincy on the line here. He's out in your bush, looking in the window. Oh God.
Listen, I barked up that tree and the bark just peeled right off. So I mean, I don't know what you want from me. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. And she knows I'm joking.
No, we joke. We joke here. We have fun. We beat the boredom of being at home. I'm going on. I'm starting my 4th week right now being home.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
4th week. Yeah. Is it you too? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same day.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 4 more to go, right? At least. This isn't gonna clean up for a while.
Hey, listen, I've enjoyed being half naked for most of this time.
Oh, I love it.
I'm not wearing a shirt.
No. My neighbors
Unless it gets cold.
like it so much, but I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, if the neighbors don't, I encourage them to do the same. I'm just saying, I'm trying to set an example for the street.
Yeah.
This is the city, after all.
I can walk out there half naked because I know nobody's going to come within 6 feet of me, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, and with you being naked, most people won't want to see it, so they won't be within 24 feet of you. I mean, you got the whole thing planned out perfectly, man.
And unless you're within 6 feet of me, you can't see anything anyway. So
I'll be honest with you.
The 6-foot rule works out perfect.
The last time I saw you naked, I pulled a gun on you. I mean, I didn't know what I was looking at.
Hey, listen, it was my
I do
birthday.
apologize still
You
for
asked me
that. I
to.
mean, I know you're scared.
You
Sorry.
asked me to come over. It was my birthday. I was nervous. Let's end it there. All right. So what
Yeah,
else?
who's going to go something, Pam? Who's going to go something? You? You gonna stay in the car? You driving?
Let's go, Pamela. She's out in Franklin. She can come get you first, then come up here get me, and then we'll swing up to. You know where we never really looked into investigating in areas was New Hampshire. Now that I'm right next to it, I mean, there's a lot of old history up here, dude. Up in this
There is.
area.
It was just at the time that was. I mean, we had so much going on in Massachusetts that we had our hands full. I mean, I still have the notebooks and the contacts and the notes that I would put down and when I talk to people. And my God, I mean, you should see the one for the Colonial Inn. I have like 4 pages of correspondence before we actually got the investigation, like months into me inquiring about it.
Wow.
I remember being on the phone for like 2 hours, maybe twice a week, trying to get that investigation, dude.
Oh, I remember. You were calling me.
Yep.
You were texting me every day, letting me know what he said, the
Oh, yeah.
progress of it. Oh. And then
Yeah,
we
there were,
get
there were a
there.
lot of places that we got into.
Oh yeah. Remember?
Pam, where would you go ghost hunting if you could go ghost hunting tonight? Where would you go?
Yeah, we want to know, Pam. Let us know. It'll take about 20 or 30 seconds for an answer to pop up. But in the meantime, what was that place that we were gonna go and they had like the free wings and pizza, and we were more excited
Oh.
about that than we were the ghost hunt.
Oh, let me speak for yourself. I'll be honest with you.
All right.
Although I do recall, thinking that was quite a nice perk. That was the Houghton Mansion. They were offering tours. Now, the thing that always set me off about those guys, they're like, okay, so we're going to charge you, what was it, like $450 or $500 a night, and you got to have like 8 people with you. I'm like, my outfit is 3 people for a reason. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. You either have to pay, between the 3 of you, and then find more people, just to get in here, or, I'm sorry, we can't have you. It was ridiculous. The Houghton Mansion.
Oh God, I want to really go there too. I remember watching the videos.
Oh, me too. That was at the top of the list for us. There was so much activity there, and it was already publicized by the time we really got into it. Not that the Colonial Inn wasn't. I mean, it had one special on it at that time.
Right.
But Houghton Mansion was definitely covered. Ghost Adventures, I think, did a good job with that one.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good show. If you really want to get entertained, I like theirs probably the best.
You know why I think they did more for the ghost hunting field than most is because they took the chances that they never should have. And I mean, I'm sure if you talk to them today, they would say that there are some things they would have done differently based on the consequences that they observed afterwards. But that being said, it was pretty real, up in the beginning and into the middle of the the running of that show, where they were just dealing with the consequences of provocation. And I seen a couple interviews with Zach away from a location. I mean, he starts talking about something, and all of a sudden something in the room falls. And noticeably so, maybe 2 things, move or something falls. And he's like, well, this is what happens when I talk about it. Well, guess what? That's indicative of an attachment, which they also dealt with those as well. I wish they documented those more, but they didn't. But, I mean, during those times, it's very, very difficult to stay grounded, if you have something attached in that way. So I understand it,
Oh yeah. It's good. They always get something, you know what I mean? But who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. I've been to locations we can get nothing. Remember the first place we went?
Yeah.
What was it?
Oh God, I don't remember. The first place we went was the crematorium. Out in the woods.
I mean, the first official investigation away from that training spot.
Wasn't it that house
I
with
remember.
Gary? I think it was that.
Yeah,
house.
buddy.
We had to crawl in through the bottom of it.
We had to crawl up the, what was it? We were in the garage or the basement or something. We had to crawl up through get into the first floor.
It wasn't even the house was like lifted off of the ground. We had to like crawl under the house to like
Yeah,
get in
there
a.
was like nothing underneath. Yeah.
Ah, there was like a
Do you
hole
remember
in the
what was
middle
in the
of the
living room?
house. Like
Do you remember what was in the living room and
that.
planted
Yeah,
in the floor?
we had that stone or something, that engraving, and
It was
it
a
had
tombstone.
like the code. Yeah, wasn't there a code on it we were trying to decipher or something?
I
Like
think
there
we were
was.
just trying to see what it said. I mean, it was pretty weathered for what it was, being indoors. But
Yeah.
yeah, we never really figured out what the hell that was. But yeah, there's a tombstone in this guy's freaking living room. Now, the funny thing was, this individual who owned the house before he passed away, he had been a pretty well-known name, and I'm struggling to recall who he was. But he was on the Johnny Carson show. He did a lot of different work publicly. He was well known, and we didn't get anything in there. Nothing. Nothing.
We did have fun trying to decipher what was on the stone, though.
That was just an interesting find and sort of a perk. I mean, I didn't expect to see. I've never seen anything like that before or since.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
and if we had Google back then and smartphones, we would have been able to Google it, take pictures, look up the translation right away. But we were sitting there like old school trying to figure it out. It was cool. That's what I
I
liked
had a
about
flip
that.
phone. I remember that much.
What's that?
I had a Verizon flip phone.
Oh yeah, I think we all did it. Ugh, those things.
Yeah, you could download porn on it in 3-second intervals. It's great. If your fingers move fast enough, it makes a whole video.
Oh yeah.
Makes a whole movie. Now, I'll be honest with you, I never downloaded any porn or something on those flip phones because honestly, I didn't know that was a possibility. And when I got this phone, a buddy of mine gave it to me, and there was already a bunch of that nonsense on there. But I found it like 4 months after I had the phone. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Oh yeah. Remember you used to, when you text somebody, you'd have to like hit the buttons like. C was like one. You'd have to hit it
1,
three
2,
times.
3, and
Yeah.
oh my god, that was awful.
And you could sit there but you could the great thing about it is you could text without even having to look at your phone. Like,
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You
right.
could feel it. You feel it underneath your thumbs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the best part about it. Oh, I'm telling you, with these
Yep.
window updates, man, this thing wants to update every day. Lucky me.
Tell it no. You're like, absolutely not. Give it the finger.
Well, we had 5 viewers, and now we're down to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think two.
Well,
One is me, one is you, one is Pamela, if she's still there.
where's Malice?
I don't know what happened to Mal. I'm
Mal should be here.
kind of mad. Mal was our roadie.
I'll be honest with you. He was with us the last few nights. So
Yeah, he was here from day 2, I think. He's the groupie. He's
An
the
active
official. He's the president of the fan club. I've already appointed him. President of the Random Rick fan club. This is a thing too that I want to do, and I don't know why I'm talking to this microphone. It doesn't even work. But I want to rename. I want to rename the channel because I went on YouTube and I'm looking, and there's like 3 or 4 or 5 other Random Ricks. You know what I mean? And they have more subscribers than I do already. One of them's got like 2,000. The other one's got 70.
Yeah.
But if I can crush them in numbers, I will retain the Random Rick name, and then I will change the name to the Random Rick. Like the.
Oh no, where'd Pam go?
Like the Random Rick. Pam's gone. Everybody's gone.
Yeah, we put on a good show, bro.
Yeah, no, hey, we had 5 people watching. That's the most yet. Every night we're getting 1 more. So 1 or 2 more, which is nice. We went up in subs.
I just spammed out like half the people on my call list. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I should start doing that. I just put a post on Facebook and then I do one in the group chat. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We're looking at a rock right now. The Legend of Marilyn's Rock.
Like Dighton Rock.
Bad luck will follow you.
It's a rock.
The Witch's Tree, Whaleyville, Maryland.
The Witch's Tree.
There is a chestnut tree in the burnt swamp.
I see no tree.
Legend says a woman was tied to
But I'm gonna
this
go
tree
pee.
and
I'll be
killed
back.
for being
All
witch,
right.
and that she
We got
placed
Mr.
Hey,
her
he's
Michael
still with
Rosen.
us?
He'll be right back. Pam, we're waiting for
Eventually,
you.
the swamp
Damn,
burned
he's still with
and
us.
nothing left.
It's gonna
Not
take 30
once,
seconds or so for
but
Pam to
twice,
answer if she
with
does.
the
So
only
go
remaining
do what
tree
you
in
gotta
the
do. We'll
swamp
be here
is that
waiting for
gnarly
you.
old chestnut.
Yeah.
Reports say that strange things happen around the tree. Lights appear and disappear, apparitions of faces appear in the tree, and even screams can be heard throughout the swamp. Many say that the curse was placed on the tree by the witch, and that is why the tree never burnt in the fires. The curse is said to have been bad luck to anyone who touches the tree. Today, the tree
I
is
ain't gonna
nothing
touch
more
that
than
tree,
a
I'll tell you
stump
that.
that people have spray painted. It has succumbed
That's
to a
right, yeah,
storm and
figures.
fell across a dirt road in the swamp. It was cut up and placed along the road opposite of the stump. Although there is no longer a tree there standing, legend still remains that it is cursed, and strange, unexplainable things still happen in the area of the stump. Uneasy feelings like being watched are reported, and whatever you do not touch anything that is left of the stump, or the curse will follow you. The Goat Man of Bowie, Maryland.
Oh gosh.
One of Maryland's several cryptid legends is the Goat Man. Goat
He's gotta
Man is
mute
a
his
half
phone
human,
here.
half goat who is said to have once
My God, man. I gotta mute that phone of his. It's really bad. Terrible connection on that thing. Oh gosh. Thank God you couldn't hear that. All right, now hold on. Now I got you muted. Are you listening to me? You gotta listen. I have you muted because you have terrible noise interference coming from your phone. It was really loud. Yeah. So right now you sound muffled. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, we gotta work on getting you a headset. 'Cause that's all that background noise is killing. It's killing the. When I play a video, I can't even hear anything because of the background noise from your phone. Why don't you try hanging up and see if you can establish a new connection? Maybe it'll get rid of that background thing. I'll play. It's just interference from whatever technical thing is, whatever's on the. I don't know the technical side of it. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of static and other stuff. So if you want to just call back, all right, thank you. Awesome. I'm gonna play this video, folks, while he calls us back. Give us something to do here. Let me get some volume on for you.
worked at the center,
There
he
we go.
participated in various experiments with goats. Legend says that one of the experiments went wrong and somehow the researcher was infected with something. He quickly went insane and ran from this facility into the woods. He grew all of his hair until his whole body was covered and is said to once live in a shack by a bridge on Fletchertown Road until one day teenagers burned it down. Goatman is said to still live in the area and roam, tormenting people and killing and decapitating animals with his axe. He is also known to throw rocks and bricks at passing cars. Chessie, Chesapeake Bay, Maryland. Whether land or sea, Maryland has a variety of cryptid legends.
Can you hear me?
Chessie is
All
a
right.
serpent-like sea
Let's
monster
see.
That better?
that is
Hear you
said
now.
to
That's a
live
little
in the
better.
Chesapeake Bay
Oh,
and is
good. I don't know
very
what I did,
similar
but
to
that
the
works
Loch
out
Ness
then.
Monster of Scotland.
Oh yeah.
It is reported to have flippers as part of its
All
body
Oh,
right.
hell yeah.
and is somewhere between 25 feet and
Yeah,
40
All right,
feet.
let's get into
There
this
have been
now. We're about an
several
hour into the
technical,
show,
pictures and videos
and
of
I
this
do want to
monster.
talk about Mandela effect.
Jericho
Who?
Mandela effect. Kidding me? What's that?
The Mandela. It's Mandela, isn't it?
Whatever. Same difference. No.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you should. This is the segment tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not. Tonight's not Mandela Monday. We're doing. I just
Oh,
didn't.
for the love of
I didn't have
Christ.
anything pulled up for Mandela Monday.
I did. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll do Mandela Monday next week.
There will be no next week. That world is ending tomorrow.
All right.
Haven't been watching the news? You listen to Trump? Everything's done tomorrow.
That's it.
Okay.
We're all.
We got one
we're all
chance to talk
washed
about
up.
Curious George and the Berenstain Bears.
True. Oh, all right. If you want to bring up your, I didn't have anything planned, but if you want to talk about yours, go right ahead. I would love to hear it. I can get into it. Go ahead.
All right.
I just
Well-
don't have anything to reiterate with, so. I'll
This is
just,
kind of funny. I'm more prepared for your show than you are. But anyway, it's just us in the room, so it doesn't matter. All right. So let's define the Mandela effect, okay? The Mandela effect is what? What's the Mandela effect? Do you know? How would you describe it, I should say?
that's when you have a memory of something when it was different. Right? That's
Essentially,
that's a basic thing. A basic. Who's a militia?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of it is focused on like pop culture, things that are in the public and have been in the public for a very long time, such as Curious George, Berenstain Bears, and so forth. The reason it's called the Mandela effect is because there was a guy named Mandela. All right, he was president of. Nope, don't quote me on that because I don't know. All right, but he was a political figure, and he died in the late mid 2000s or something like that. But
Yep.
everybody remembers him dying much sooner. So this whole idea that he was dead, he was still alive, and then he finally died. People were like, "Well, no, I thought he already died." And people remember vivid things from the time that he had passed away, whether it was TV broadcasts or, they had seen something else, in relation to it. They believed that they had this memory that never existed. Now, the way that they define it is that the Mandela effect is a recent refinement of false memory that typically refers to pop culture or current event references, which both of those I just covered in what I mentioned. The Berenstain Bears, to me, is one of my favorite. Okay, how the hell do you spell it? How do you remember it being spelled? Let me ask you that.
I remember with the E and the I at the end of it because I remember always trying to pronounce it. And I was like, that doesn't pronounce right. That doesn't look like Stain to me. My mother would call it Stein or something. A teacher would call it Stein or Steen. And I was like, how do you pronounce that? I remember. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Totally interesting.
Yeah, that one is nuts. Because that one
Without
I remember.
Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes. How's tunes spelled? Is it T-O-O-N-S or is it T-U-N-E-S?
I remember U-N-E-S, to be honest with you. That one
This
I
is
remember
one
that
that
way.
This isn't one that I connect with. I mean, I remember being tunes, T-O-O-N-S, but it does make sense to me. The Berenstain Bear one is the one that gets me the most. But let me ask you a question. Did Curious George have a tail or no?
Yeah, he hung from the tree in it with it.
Nope, he had no tail.
He had a tail and he hung from the tree.
Never had a tail.
Get me on this.
But I remember the
Google right
same kind
now.
of stuff. I'm telling you, I remember the same stuff. He's a monkey. Why doesn't he have a tail? But he doesn't have a tail in the illustrations.
Yeah, we're gonna see right now. Curious George. Google.
Is it Sex in the City or Sex and the City?
Hold on. Where's Curious George? He has no tail. This is BS. I want Curious George's tail back.
Now, what people think is that maybe we slipped into an alternate reality or some sort of parallel reality. I don't know. I'm not saying yes or no because these things sort of progress as we go consciously. I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows.
Now, I mean, to me, for example, you look at something like Curious George, okay? So your brain has this sort of function that fills in the blanks a lot of times. You can see this with, for example, you're aware of your blind spot. You know what that looks like, okay? And then you have expectations. When you see something, you might see something that corresponds with that expectation. So, for example, Curious George, he's a monkey, okay? You might be reading these books as a kid, and you fill in the memory of having a tail because monkeys have tails, right? But then you start creating this sort of weird phenomena where he doesn't have a tail, but you remember having a tail. That's, to me, what I think a lot of it kind of tends to be. I don't think it's so supernatural as much as I'd love to say it is. I don't think it really is. I think it's a matter of the way the brain works and the way the memories are stored. Perception.
Listen, yeah, it could be that we went into a different dimension, though.
Well, I mean, take something like the Febreze, for example. Is it Febreze or is it Febreze? With 2 E's or 1 E? We say it with 2 E's, right? But it's only 1 E. So the brain thinks, oh, this is how it should be spelled. Freeze. You know what I mean? So that's how it remembers it. Oscar Mayer, which is it?
It's my baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's Mayer.
That's right.
It's plain
That's
to
right.
see that something that is good to me.
So a lot of people think it's Mayer.
It is Mayer. That's the song.
Nope. It's not. It's Meyer.
It's Mayer to me. Dude, I used to sing that. I was a fat little kid who never stopped getting fat.
Yeah. There's no way I'm close to you, dude. I know that one.
No,
Well,
listen.
maybe these days.
We had 5 people. Now we're down to me and you watching ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. I mean, we're not that interesting enough. I mean, what the hell happened to
No.
Pam? She was having a great time.
Average viewers don't watch that long, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. At least we got a little something, right?
We got a new viewer, Pamela. Thank you, Pamela, for watching tonight. If you're tuning in
I'm gonna
later,
text her and yell at her now.
if you're watching the replay, to be like, "Oh my God, I was on YouTube." So, what was I gonna say? The latest one I heard from Mandela Effect was what's that? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. All right. Is it Mirror Mirror on the Wall or is it Magic Mirror on the Wall? How do you remember it? Go.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's
Nope.
the prettiest of them all? Who's whatever it is?
Nope.
Yeah, mirror, mirror on the wall. It's
Nope.
not. It's Magic Mirror.
Sorry, Magic Mirror on the Wall, dude. Mind blown. Good night. Good night.
Huh.
Magic Mirror on the Wall. You believe it?
All right. Let me ask you a question.
All right.
Did the Monopoly guy have a monocle or no?
Yes. He's got to have
A lot
one.
of people remember it the opposite way.
He has one.
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up right now.
I
Because I have
got
a
a
question about
Monopoly
this.
board right here. Hold on. Let me go get it. Hold on. You. Ow. My phone.
Monopoly Man.
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one. He doesn't have one.
He doesn't
I
have
remember him
one.
having one too. Yeah, he doesn't have one.
Where did it go?
That's a good question.
It's at the board right now. No monocle, nothing. He even has a look on his face like, oh, I used to have a monocle, or did I? Oh, it's
Here's
terrible.
a good one. Here's a good one. You ready?
All right.
Is it Cheez-Its or Cheez-It?
It's CHEEZ, and then the little slash, and then it.
That's it. You're right. A lot of people remember a Z at the end of it.
Oh, like Cheez-Its? No, I remember Cheez-It.
Me too.
Like with the cheese was spelled with a Z, not the at the end.
The
Was it
Flintstones. How's that spelled?
the Flintstones?
Mm-hmm.
Flintstones. Flin Stones.
A lot of people think it's Flintstones, like Flints, Tones, instead of Flinstones.
Wait, there is a
Flintstones
T in
versus
there.
Flintstones.
No, there is a T in there.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one or there isn't?
There is, but people remember it the opposite way.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because when you say it, you don't pronounce the T. Maybe that's why.
Now let me ask you this one. This is a big one right here. You ready? What did Forrest Gump say in his most famous line when he's sitting on that bench? What is it? Just the first line.
It said, life is like a box of chocolates.
Nope.
You never know what
What he
you're gonna
really
get.
said.
What?
What he really said was, life was like a box of chocolates.
No, he did not.
Yeah, it did.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Believe it.
It's in the friggin' history books.
Nope. It's life was like a
the
box of
most
chocolates.
popular saying in all of movies besides Luke, I am your father.
Yeah. Life was like a box of chocolates. And yes, I did come across the mirror, mirror on the wall one. That was pretty cool. Magic mirror on the wall. Maybe there was another version that we heard.
What other version? You saw one version of Snow White. Back then they
Mirror,
only
mirror
had
on the
one.
wall.
Back then
I
they
don't know,
didn't
maybe
do
it's simplified.
director's cuts and all that stuff.
Maybe it was simplified in our kid brains. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. It was mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
Is it Luke, I am your father?
Yes.
No, it's not. He says, I am your father.
I am your father. He says, no,
He doesn't
Luke,
say Luke.
I am your father.
He doesn't say Luke.
He has to say it.
Mm-mm.
Star Wars is in my blood.
You ready? Luke, I am your father. Honestly, this was one of the one that cut deep. Perhaps the most famous movie line in history wasn't even said. All he said was, I am your father. I remember it the other way, too.
Yeah, he's like, because he's telling him, he's like, Ben told me you killed my father. And he's like, no, Luke, I am your father.
Okay. No, Luke. I am your father. Not Luke. I am your father. Boom. Solved. Next. It's a matter of the English grammaticism, dude. Come on. I mean, this really just kind of lends to what my theory of the whole thing is, and it's just sort of something that happens in perception. What about when Gandalf says, "Run, you fools," right?
Yeah.
Does he say "run, you fools"? No, he doesn't. He says, "Fly, you fools."
I thought he said run. I'd have to watch
Yeah,
it again.
me too. Me too. How do we only have one in the chat now? Did you leave?
Now we got one. Oh, I left my own show.
Oh my god.
No, I'm watching it. It says on mine I have 3 live.
I have 2 now.
All right, now I'm down to 2. So I think that was Pamela. Miss Pamela left. Thanks for hanging out again, Pam. We appreciate it. You'll be back. Everyone always is, except for Mal. He's not back. He doesn't like us. He probably
I got a
went
good
to the
one for you.
wrong link, you know?
I got a good one for you. You ready?
Yeah.
In Silence of the Lambs, what is the most quoted line?
Oh, God.
Come on, you know this one. Come on.
I'm not a big fan of that movie, so I don't really know.
You don't have to be.
Something
You don't
with
have to be.
something with Clarice,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Hello, Clarice.
Hello,
Right?
Clarice.
He never said that. He said good morning. He said good morning.
I don't
He never
even
said
like
hello,
that
Clarice.
movie, and I remember that one part.
But again, this is something that, people could take after seeing the movie and, simplify in their heads and say, oh, hello, Clarice. Or maybe even make something kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? pop culture-ish, but in the sense, not really having the idea that that's what it is. They're just using the line because, Hannibal Lecter is scary, coming up against Clarice. Hello, Clarice. You know what I mean? Like something like that. It's just something so in the head, as far as I can tell.
Ugh. Yeah, but some of them are real. Maybe some of them are real, some of them not. My
They're
theory.
misinterpretations. I'm telling you. I got one for you too. Here, Mr. Rogers' theme song. What does it start with?
Yeah. It's
It's a
beautiful day in the neighborhood.
No,
Beautiful day
no.
in your neighborhood. Would you be
It's a
mine?
beautiful day in this neighborhood.
No, it is not.
It is, though.
Dude,
It
I
is.
watch that show more than any human on earth.
Yeah, me too. And it says everybody, and this is why this particular theory exists, because we're all so convinced that it was one thing, when I guarantee you we just misheard it. It's very easy to mishear stuff in media. I mean, even in songs. I mean, God, how many lyrics have I sung, where I didn't actually know the words and I thought it was something, different than it was. I'll give you an example. Bad Religion. There's a song. God, I can't remember the name of it. I can give you a line, though, if you give me a moment, though. And I'll tell you, literally, I made up 2 new words out of it because I didn't understand what they were saying. It's off of Recipe for Hate. I know that. I think that's the actual song. But, for example, one of the words was lacrovomity.
What is
Okay,
it?
I heard lacrovomity. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of a crazy word. Yeah, I know Bad Religion's really big into their, grammar and stuff like that. Lacrovomity. I looked it up. There's no such word. I'm like, what the hell is it? Years later, I found out it's lack of harmony.
Huh. I've
But
never
it
even
sounds
heard of
like lacrovomity when you listen to it.
Lack of vomity?
Lacrovomity. And I actually made up a word in high school. I went into Latin, and I took different words, or at least suffixes, to create the word lacrovomity, and for what it was, it made sense in like 4 sentences that I could come up with.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Australinity. That's another one, okay? I thought he said Australinity. He said something completely different. So I came up with another word for that. I think he said something like, they are still here today, but I heard Australinity.
Could have your own little, what do you call it? Your own little dictionary.
Well, I mean, I'm a writer, so, what do you want?
There you go. Oh, we have a third viewer now.
Well, folks, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the Mandela effect.
Yeah. Live here, Mandela Monday. Come on and join in on the fun. Yeah.
This one is one of my favorites, okay? Because I remember this from when I was a kid. Sinbad played a genie in what movie?
Oh, it was that's Shazam.
Kazam, correct.
Shazam.
Except it wasn't him. It was Shaquille O'Neal. Now, the funny thing about this particular example is that Sinbad, because he's been riddled with people saying that it was him in this movie, has literally made a joke out of it on social media. You know what I mean? So it wasn't him, though. It was Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh.
It was Shaquille O'Neal. What else? What else we got here? Smokey the Bear. Or is it Smokey Bear? What is it?
Smokey the Bear.
Nope. It's Smokey Bear. Smokey Bear. There's no the.
No, it's Smokey the Bear.
I remember Smokey the Bear too. Nope.
Ugh.
Now here's one that's kind of interesting. It's on a list that I found. Okay. And this one's sort of left field, even for this particular theory. Okay, Neil Armstrong's death. Oddly enough, people had no recollection of the astronautic legend's death. Many fans apparently forgot or didn't notice the news of his passing in August 2012. How? How? I mean, I don't necessarily think that's part of a Mandela effect, but it's just another example of how the human perception can pass by something very important. Or effectively.
I don't know. There's so much to think about with that one.
Well, that's why we're talking. Excuse me. That's why we're talking about it.
Well, yeah, I guess it's just advertisement, and you know what I mean. The way they
No, advertising for what?
marketing, media. Like, say when they go put an ad in the newspaper, they gotta like put out, they gotta write the design, the graphic designs, and all that, and maybe they make a mistake and put it in and change up a word or two or something, or misspell something, and then everybody's like, "Oh my god."
Well, here's another example of just people not paying attention, but it falls under the theory of the Mandela effect. The Lindbergh baby. Okay, when aviator Charles Lindbergh's infant son was kidnapped. Now we've all read about this, I'm sure. Obviously, it happened many years ago, especially when technology and crime scene investigation wasn't anything like it is today. The entire world focused on their attention of the story. Many remember the case going cold, as I do. I don't remember anybody ever being caught, but they sadly found the body and sentenced the killer to death for the heinous crime. I really think we can probably check this particular effect off, okay, as saying it's something that occurs within the human mind or the human brain or perception, whether you're paying attention or not. I think a lot of it lends credence to that sort of thing. I really do.
Yeah.
Just the way you remember it.
I guess so. Maybe it was
Not to say that they're...
What?
Huh? I was going to say, not to say that there aren't alternate dimensions that we're kind of switching in and out of, okay, but I think that's more of a natural course rather than something abrupt, you know what I mean, where you see it, almost every day, all the Berenstain Bears, or, Mandela, or, Leonardo DiCaprio's first Oscar, or whatever you want to give it as an example. I think a lot of this is lended to perception, and, hey, Malice, how you doing? Thanks for coming by.
Mal, hey!
We've been talking about you. All fun things, of course. Mostly like, where's Malice? And I thought Malice would be here tonight, and, hope Malice comes by, so thank you.
There he is, yeah. We were just talking about you a minute ago. Saying that you were the original groupie. Roadie. The groupie.
I was going to say last night, you get all the
Roadie.
prizes, so.
Yeah.
He gets to test them before he sends them out to the actual winners.
Oh, God. Yeah.
There's so many numerous examples of the Mandela effect. I think it's, as interesting as it is, but, that's sort of my conviction on it. That's my verdict. I think it's something that is based on perception, more or less occurs in the mind, and it's probably more physical than ethereal. And that's my feeling.
All right, but then why didn't any of this happen before, this lady came out and said, the Mandela effect is this?
She gave it a name. Becomes more of an attention. She gave it a name. Prior to that, I mean, what do you call synchronicity before we called it synchronicity? Oh, it's a coincidence. What did you call it before you called it coincidence? I don't know. But there was probably something. As soon as you give a name to something, there's more attention because it comes compartmentalized in the way that you think about it.
Yeah,
Once
true.
you compartmentalize it, you can study it better that way,
Yeah. No, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you get all the participant ribbons, buddy. You get all of them.
We'll have to. Oh yeah. He gets the participation trophy. He gets the ribbon,
Everything.
the medallion. Yeah. You'll have the whole kit, the whole participation kit.
I mean, hell, you can just move into the station if you want to. We got a nice place downstairs where we keep most of the records. I
Yeah.
mean, it's dry most of the year. Bring a sleeping bag with a plastic wrap underneath. You'd be fine.
I wanted
Every
to
2
point
nights out
out.
of the year, we'll bring you up to be on the air. It'll be like something special.
Yeah, I wanted to point out
But take care of yourself.
that um this whole night we've been running video and it's been coming in HD.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no skips, no
Maybe something they
lags, no
switched to.
freezes, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Maybe something they switched on. We didn't know.
we keep getting a cross with your phone, and it's funny because it's like somebody on another line, and it's like a 12-year-old kid with braces and like
Are
acting.
you sure it's not you and the lag?
No, it's coming from your phone line, and it's funny because it's like
We'll say
every
hi to
once
him
in
at
a
least,
while
will
you
we?
get like a little.
We don't discriminate. Age is no difference.
No, yeah. Remember back in the
You
day,
want
you
to talk
get like,
about the paranormal? Come right on.
all right. Oh, so
All right,
yeah,
what else you got? You don't have anything on the video.
the video's been coming out good tonight, which I'm pretty happy with. It's coming in HD
Yeah, when you're playing it, yep.
for all our viewers out there. You can watch it in up to 720p. I got it playing in 480 right now, and it's working beautifully. So
Yeah, I can't see anything, but I don't know if you're playing a video or not.
yeah,
See RMF,
playing one.
RFM.
I got one on there. No, you're probably watching the wrong link or something like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
anywho,
okay,
coming up on the show in the next few days or weeks or whatever, we got Andrew Nice Clay. That's right, you heard it right, Andrew Nice Clay.
Okay.
It's his brother. It's his
His brother, yep.
his brother
Good guy.
who's not as
Drew
popular.
Dice Clay.
Yeah,
I like Drew.
Andrew
He's a
Nice
good guy.
Clay. Remember, that's with an N, not the D. Andrew Nice. Also, we have, don't forget, Mal, we got Mr. Cheap Chips is coming up this week, and he found a gem. He found a gold nugget.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Haystack.
Not this one coming, but the following Thursday. Yep.
When I'm in the mood for chips, I'll have it. And then, what do
Listen,
we got?
you have a job. It doesn't matter if you're in the mood or not, okay? Talk to this guy, Mr. Cheap Chips, and get him the hell over here. Let's go.
He'll be here, trust me. He's coming up, folks.
You have to eat 2 chips. You tell me you're too full to eat 2 chips?
I don't want to open the whole bag and waste the whole bag just for having him.
You're going to eat the rest tomorrow. What are you talking about?
So we'll have him coming up soon, folks. And then we got, let me see, what else? Oh, let me see. That's it, yeah. That's all we got coming up. I don't really plan it. Oh, this is day by day. I wake up in the morning, stretch out, have some coffee, think of some ideas, and then we run with it. So that's it. Yeah. All right, and now I will unmute Michael. Here you go. All right, now he's back. All right, awesome.
You're lucky you're far enough away from me. I
know.
can't grab you.
I'm
I would.
sorry. Every time I talk, you interrupted me, so I had to mute you for a second there while I was telling people what's going on.
Put you in a headlock.
Anywho, what else is going on this week? Anything? Is that it for tonight?
More people are dying of the coronavirus, and it's becoming more of an issue. They say in the next week or so, we're really going to experience our uptick in these sort of things.
Yeah.
After that, I would hope that it sort of starts to wane a little bit, and we kind of get through this. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Day at a time. I know that in
I'm
Massachusetts, did you hear about this? You can't go out after 9 o'clock now until 6 a.m.
What?
Curfew in Massachusetts is 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless you go in emergency or getting food at the grocery store or whatever.
Well, send me a link to that because it seems like the same stay-at-home order that we're supposed to be doing anyway. I'd like to see that.
Now it's a curfew.
Why, though? I mean, what's that really going to prevent? I'm curious.
I'm just saying, folks, just stay in. Don't listen to other people. Stay inside after 9. Protect yourself.
There's
Wear your
nothing
mask.
going on.
Wear your gloves. there's nothing going on anyway, so it doesn't. What does it even matter? You can still go out of your house. You just can't. You don't want to be going. Everything's closed, so that's all that is. I don't really want to talk about this stuff anyways. But this show's here to get people away from all that, which they hear all day long. They gotta listen to it on the news.
Just you and me in here.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but for replays and stuff like that, I have the show. Yeah. All right. So, anything else for tonight?
What would you like to discuss?
No, I don't have anything else. I just see it if you wanted to bring up.
I got like 3 hours. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah. I don't have that long. I'm gonna wrap it up here soon and then go check out Goof On if he's on at 10 o'clock usually.
After that, you should come and see my show. I'm gonna do it after this one because this show has left me with a hole in my heart. So.
A hole in your heart. I'm sorry. Oh, now I feel bad.
Yeah, no, are you? I'm sorry.
I am. I'm sorry.
You know, it's just an emptiness. Don't worry about it. Many people have left those things, especially women. You know what I mean? I'm used to it. It's fine, dude. Don't worry about it. Please, don't lose sleep over it. You know, I appreciate you're a great friend. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. I don't want you to lose sleep over it.
No, I won't, but I still feel bad. But anywho. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go have some peanut butter cookies probably.
All right, says another hour and a half show. Not bad, not bad.
And then, that's it. You're gonna do a show, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll call in and do.
I'm gonna be on Zoom though.
On Zoom?
You gotta download Zoom again, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know how to do the YouTube thing.
No, I have it on my tablet. I can do it on my tablet. I have it downloaded.
I'm gonna go set that up, and I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna do more on the Mandala effect.
All
I've
right.
got about 30 more examples.
30?
Yeah, I have a list of 40, so I went through about 10.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a very interesting subject.
No,
and
it is.
again, I think we started to actually get into substantial conversation about it, but, you know, I don't know what happened, so.
No, yeah, well, yeah. We ended it because we know that it's a memory thing. I mean, what else are we gonna do? I can't sit there and argue with it.
Well, I mean, did you concur with me on that? Is it also
I
your
mean,
opinion?
it could
or do you
be.
have-
It could be a memory thing, or my theory was, what if it's?
Okay.
What if all these extra little things that could or couldn't be it? What if all those are like planted by somebody who's like trying to take away from the fact that it is real, and that the very few things that we do know that are real, like Mirror, Mirror on the Wall or Bernstein Bears, like we remember that, like that.
Yeah, but
There's no way it's different.
I mean,
There's no way.
the technology that they have, that's like pebble stones to them. Dude, I'll be honest with you, with the technology they've had since the 70s, okay, they could just manifest in your room at any point in time and then take you through a portal. Okay, you think they're gonna waste their time on a Mandala effect?
I don't
either. I don't either.
Yeah, but that could have been an effect of, you know what I mean?
It could have been. It could have been.
And then it
Just
happened
like this
once.
information.
It's not
Yeah.
happening continuously. It happened once, and now that's it. Now we get those little things, but everybody's gonna like pick out every little thing. That's not true, but that keeps us the attention away from the real thing. So it's like diluted. You know what I mean? Now it's diluted.
With
So
most things, yes, absolutely.
yeah. Ugh.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go sign up and pop this in, and I'll hit you up on Spoon, and let me know. Anybody who's out there listening, which is just you and me, come on over.
Do you have a link or anything for the folks there, and that you put it in the chat room?
I do not. I do not. You have to download Spoon, and I do apologize because it's one of those things that we try to get away from when we broadcast over YouTube, which is more accessible to most folks in the easiest of ways. Hit a link, boom, you're right there, you're in the chat. Spoon, you gotta fucking download everything, and you go from there.
Oh yeah, true.
I get random people popping in, hey, I can't hear you, and then they leave. I'm like, okay.
I
And
can't
they
even
say, oh, is that
listen to
music in the
this.
background? I like it. They leave.
I
They're
can't
gone.
even listen to this.
Ugh. Well, all right. So I'm gonna sign up for that now. I'm
All
gonna
right.
put together a show, and I
I'll
will
go
invite you,
spoon.
and
I will go
we'll
sign
start
up.
start in about 10 minutes.
10
Does
minutes.
that give you enough time?
No, well, you can start. I'll just call in. 'Cause I am,
Yeah. All
I'm
right.
gonna go get my cookies and all that stuff. I don't want to eat on the air. So,
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
all right. Well,
Malice, I'm not telling you should get Spoon, but I'm telling you, if you want to hear a great show, you should get Spoon.
yeah, Malice.
And I'd
go
love to
and
have
check
you
out
on.
Spoon. Is it under Michael Roser, right? I think it's
Yes.
under your name. Michael Roser. Roser. Look
Mm-hmm.
it up. It's on the Spoon app. SPOON.
We're gonna go into depth about some of these theories, and we're gonna kind of forget about the glossing surface here. We're gonna dive deep. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what we do on my show, Dark Hour Paranormal. Please join us. It should be there.
How did you steal my name for your show?
Oh, I didn't steal it. I used it because it wasn't being used, and you're not using it. So you're still a part of it. You kidding me? You're still 100% a part of it.
Oh,
But
thank you.
I'm calling it Dark Hour Paranormal, as I have for quite some time. Listen, it's
All
all the
right.
same moniker, okay?
All right, we'll sign off then, so I can say goodnight to everybody. Say
All right.
farewells.
Folks, thank you for joining us. I do appreciate you being here with us. Thank you, Rick, for having me again as your co-host. I will be back tomorrow night with him as well, and we're going to be talking about more interesting things as we go forward. For now, tune into Spoon. Michael Roser is the tag that you're looking for, and you will find a great show ahead of you.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Michael Roser. And for everybody else, you have a good night, and we'll see you. Thanks for hanging out here live on Mandela Monday. We're coming to you every night live in April, folks. All your little hip-hop and bebop and non-stop and rock and all right, yeah. All right, good night, everybody. We love you. Take care. And let me get on this camera one more time. I want to say bye.